Hi again. Time to continue with the coffee table. I'm gonna cut the legs to their proper length today, and after that I'm gonna make the dovetail joints for these braces that go across like this. And maybe something else, we'll see how far I get today. I'm gonna set these parts away for now, because I'm gonna do the legs first. That's the legs sorted. Now it's time to plan the dovetails for the braces between the skirting boards. The two braces will go inside of the skirt across like that. And to be able to start the dovetails, I first have to mark out for the bow cuts on the underside of the skirts. We go from end to end up like that a little bit. Now I have to decide how much I will cut out, and it's 100 millimeters now, more or less 4 inches exactly, and I think it will look good if I have 60 millimeters in the middle, where in the top of the bow cut. So I have to mark the bow cut and measure out where the dovetails will come, and from those points measure down to the bow cut, and that tells me what width to rip the braces to, because now they are also 100 millimeters. I divided the entire length of the skirting board by 3, so I get 2 points for the dovetail joints. And now I have to measure down from that point to where I marked the bow cut to see what width I need to rip the braces to. And I get about 65 millimeters down to that cut, but to be sure the braces won't poke out below the bow cut, I will just rip them to 60. I assembled the base quickly here, so I am able to take the measurements between. That's why I put the clamps here, to pull it together tightly as it will be when I do the final assembly. Now I can take the measurement between. And transfer it to these braces, plus the 15 millimeters on each side for the dovetails, of course. That looks perfect. I think I will let the dovetail run 40 millimeters down and leave 20 millimeters, so I will mark it 40, and those 20 millimeters here I will cut away, and those 40 I will cut into a dovetail. That's the plan. Here's one of the holes after the screws from when I milled the boards in the first video with the chainsaw jig. I said I would cut those away later, so it didn't matter. Turned out that the grain direction in this board wasn't so good all over it, so I had to go pretty close to the edge on this side, so I would avoid gnarlier grain on this side. But this will be inside of the base. No one will ever see it, and it will not affect the structural integrity. A bit of fun though. One of my friends suggested I clamp it to the boards instead of screwing it. But yeah, that's what you probably should watch out a little bit more for if you do like this. But in this position it really doesn't matter, just a little bit of a fun detail. The combination square set to 40 millimeters. This is the reference side, the true side, so I measure 40 down from that. Mark with a knife here. So here's what's left over that will be cut out. Now I want to create knife walls where I will make cuts. So I am deepening the scribe lines first. And cut away a bit of material on the waist side. A lot easier to do when it lays flat on the bench actually. These knife markings are much more important than the pencil lines. I mostly did that to show the principle. You get a much more precise fit if you scribe the dovetail groove like this. female part, I think you call it. This is probably the male part, and this groove that I will cut here will be the female part. So now I have knife lines to follow here. Now I will mark with the knife 40 millimeters down on the inside. Same length as the dovetail. And I will cut it out and see if it fits. I'm doing my best with the English vocabulary on these videos, but sometimes I don't quite get it right. Of course, you could speak about male and female parts in a dovetail joint, but more typically you speak about tails and pins. And what I cut on these pieces first, that would be the tails. But there is no pin situation on what I'm doing now. That's what you have on the corner where you usually use the dovetail joints. Then you have the tails here, and between them are the pins. Pins are quite often a lot thinner than what I made here, for aesthetic reasons mostly, I think, but anyway, I don't have that on this long skirting board. If you don't want to refer to the piece in between the two sockets as a pin, which would be ridiculous because it's more than 30 centimeters or 12 inches long. So then you would refer to the cut out parts, and they are called sockets in this situation here. So no pins, just tails and sockets, and now I will cut the sockets. that's all the pieces for the table base fitted. The dovetail joints on the braces worked out really great, which is nice because I think I only done that sort of joint like once before, so that was fun. Now I will smooth plane most of the surfaces, perhaps not all the surfaces on the inside of the base, that won't be visible. And I still have to cut the legs so they taper down towards the floor beyond the knee. The knee is just the part on top of the leg where the skirting boards are joined to them. So below that I will cut the legs to a taper. After that I'll have to smooth off those cuts. And of course I can cut the bow shape on the skirting boards. After that it's time to talk to Jonas and his wife Eleanor and ask them if they want me to do some sort of decorative work on the base before I make the final assembly. I'll probably try to get the marble slab over here as well to check so it sits as it should on top of the base. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll get the smoothing plane out first. pieces, smooth planed. The reason I didn't smooth more than just up at the mortise on the legs is that these faces will be cut away when I taper the legs. I just wanted it to be a bit smooth up here. Actually, it's only this outer edge here that will be shown. This is on the inside, but anyway, now the knee is nice and smooth. So next step is either to do the taper or do the bow cuts on the skirting boards. I'll just have to decide what I want to do first. Maybe the tapers. Time to decide how much I want to taper the leg. I wanted to start exactly where the skirting board ends, and that's 10 millimeters from the top. Now to decide how narrow I want it down at the floor. If I go down to 40, I think it will be a little bit too skinny. 45 millimeters doesn't sound like a big difference, but when you see it, to me anyway, it's noticeable. 50 will be too little. I will go for 45. It's about 1 inch and 3/4. So that is the goal. And I will make simple little jig for the table saw to do this on all 4 legs. I'm just gonna use a piece of, well, it's not marine quality plywood, it's something they make here in Sweden to use as well, form material for concrete casting, I believe. But it is pretty good for this kind of stuff. I would put a few small nails down in the board and back that away. I will measure from the fence or from the edge of the board really out to the leg itself. But the distance here at the bottom of the leg from the edge will be bigger than this distance here, or here, not here, but here. Here's where the cut will start, and it will be as much bigger as the width of the taper I will cut out, and that's 20 millimeters more or less exactly, so I will go with 20 millimeters. First I'll just decide how far out over the edge of the board I will put it here. 70 millimeters. So I'll put the first nail here. Up here I will measure 90 millimeters instead. That is almost all I need to do. Just one more thing. A nail down here to keep it in place. Now it just sits there. When I'm done, I remove the nails and I can reuse this board for something similar another time. One little hassle though, of course. I don't think my table saw can do this much stock actually. I'll just have to remove this, and if there is a few millimeters left, I guess I'll just hand saw that away. Here's another trick. When I remove that cover for the blade, I don't need any suction in this hose, so I just put a plug in it. So I get all the suction power underneath instead. Yeah. Feel free to copy that if you think it's useful. Right, let's try it out, see if it works. Ready to be used another time. For the same purpose. Maybe so I backed up and did extra passes on them. That's because I didn't quite hit the mark at the bottom of the mortise. On the first one I accidentally took away a little bit too much, so I ended up a little bit above it, but I don't think that will matter too much. So then I moved the fence out a little bit, so I ended up a little bit below the mortise instead, and then I nudged the fence back and did extra passes to get up as close as possible without taking too much. I like the method. Problem is that my table saw, or actually it's a contractor saw, or what you call it. It only manages 70 millimeters. These are 65, but this plywood is 12 or 15 or something. So that's a bit too much for this thickness. But no matter, as I said, I can just hand saw the rest. It's not that much, maybe 3 millimeters or something, and I will plane it later. I'm a bit tempted to do a new test assembly. I'll drive it to see how it looks with tapered legs, but I think I will do the bow cuts on the skirting boards first, actually. Yeah, alright. Anyway, handsaw. There was some really nasty cuts with a handsaw, but I didn't really care about that since I'm planing them anyway. Maybe this one, a bit more aggressive cut. And of course you don't need 2 planes to do this, but it's a little bit more convenient, and I have more than 1 plane. This blade is set to a coarser cut, so to get rid of this remnant of my quick and dirty hand sawing, I can use that. It takes it out faster, and I don't have to change the blade setting on the other plane, which is set to smooth now. This material really offers a lot of interesting obstacles and surprises. Well, that sort of grain pattern will probably look good in the end, but it's not the funniest in the world to plane. I'm going to do this on all legs later. Might just as well start now. Much more convenient to use a block plane here, I think, anyway. Not everybody thinks so. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. I like it, so I use it. It doesn't look that bad, I think. We'll see how it looks when I put the base together again. The bow cuts are done. Let's do another dry fit. Well, it is a coffee table after all, but it would be easier to use it if I had the slab on it. I tried to find a camera angle that shows the shapes and the proportions, and I think it's turning out really well now when I made the bow cut on the skirting boards and the taper on the legs, and also the smooth planing helped a lot with the overall impression, I think. Even though the lumber is a bit tricky with all the knots and strange grain directions. But I think it's turning out really well. Next step for me is to drill holes for the pegs in the knees. 2 on every side, probably, or most definitely, because that will look the best. I'm not sure if it's going to be drawboard joints or not. I will also glue it, so I don't really have to drawboard it, but I might do it because I like it, and it adds a little bit of extra strength and squeezes the joints together. And it's also time to talk to Jonas and Eleanor now about if I'm going to do some decorational work or not on the base. That's something we talked about when we planned the project, but we decided to get back to it when I was getting more or less done with the basic construction. So that's now. But those things will come in later videos, because this one is ending now. I hope you enjoyed it. Put some comments down if you have any questions or ideas or tips or anything. And if you're not subscribed, please do so to help me out. And tell all your friends also. And I hope to see you here for the next video. Maybe I have the slab here to try that on as well then. We'll see.